If I sound a bit distracted this morning, against my better judgment, I've decided to video record this particular episode and perhaps put it on YouTube. So I haven't had a haircut for a while, haven't shaved, put on a bit of weight, so it doesn't matter. Now I'm all self-conscious and it's probably a problem. How can we start off this morning? I think, like I said the other day, under the circumstances, good to start with a bit of feedback. So the reason I'm going to paraphrase this is that people send me feedback and people write very badly. They write very badly. So grammatical errors, you name it. So I'm going to just put this into my own way, put it into my own words, which funnily enough, that's what paraphrasing means. Okay, so Gerald sends me a message. I don't normally mention somebody's name, but I like the name Gerald. I like the name Gerald. I had a neighbor up the road, Gerald, and Gerald is like it's not nerdy, but it's almost like a comical kind of name. I like the name. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So Gerald sends me a message. Damon, I was listening to your show the other day when you were talking about your health at the beginning, about the diabetes. So first of all, Gerald, you're 2 shows behind, but it doesn't matter, as you're still a listener, and I still value it. And thank you very much for coming back to me with this. Now, I'm not a doctor, Gerald, but so I feel a bit uncomfortable dealing with this. So I'm just so whatever I say is just like the basics. You don't need to be a doctor to say what I'm about to say, but a feedback. So Gerald says he's in his office. He's in an office environment, and he's working with 4 or 5 other people. There's one of the ladies in the office has a diabetic test kit. I suppose it's not called it. It's called the blood glucose test kit. So you put a bit of a splash of the blood on a little strip, and then you strip it into the little machine, push the button, and it gives you a reading. I don't remember the units. In other words, when I say units, I mean kilograms, pounds, milliliters. So it's a figure. So Gerald says to me, look, he was eating biscuits at the time, and Gerald said his reading was 20. What must he do? Well, Gerald, first of all, the most obvious thing. Now, I often worked on a show with the great Professor Harry Seftel. It was called Medically Speaking. Welcome to Medically Speaking. I'm Professor Harry Seftel. And people would phone Harry with their issues, and I often worked on that show. Often I was like the producer, call screener person, and I often thought to myself, what is wrong with these people? Just go to your damn doctor. Just go to the doctor. Why are you phoning Harry? Go to the doctor. You're going to have to go to the doctor anyway. Go to the damn doctor. And Harry would give them advice, and at the end of the day, Harry would say, go to your GP. The GP is the captain of the medical ship. The captain of your medical ship is your GP. And and Harry would land up saying that to almost every single person that phoned. So I'm going to be like Harry. I'm going to go to your GP. Don't ask me. But anyway, your reading 20 is not good. A healthy reading for normal, healthy blood glucose levels, I stand corrected, but generally speaking, it's between 5.2 and 5.6, 5.8. If you're on 6.2, it's sort of okay-ish. If you're heading towards 6.87, they say that you might be pre-diabetic. But having said that, it also depends on your age. If you're like pushing 80, if you're pushing 80 or 75 and your reading is 7, you're doing okay, you're doing fine, in my opinion. Look, again, I'm not a doctor. This is just anecdotal layman's advice. So Gerald, let me explain to you, Gerald. I'm on metformin, which is like a generic of glucophage. So glucophage, I can't remember the exact physiological. I'm not going to go into the details of what glucophage does, but it's for people who are not they're not serious diabetics. They're just borderline. Excuse me, I'll edit that out. Going on to like borderline going into diabetes. So I'm on 500 milligrams metformin, and it's sort of under control. So Gerald, just go to your doctor. 20. I don't care if you're eating biscuits, Gerald. 20 is too high. So say for argument's sake, you weren't eating biscuits at the time. So then your reading would have been 16 or 12. That's still too high, Gerald. So Gerald, go to your GP. Now, Gerald, he said he's 45. Now, when you get to the age of 40, 45, and I've said this before. Oh, by the way, this is not a medical show. But anyway, so I'll be brief. We're not designed, our human beings, Homo sapiens, we're not designed to live beyond 40, 45, 50. What keeps us alive? Medication. We're all sedentary. We designed that we're supposed to be hunters and gatherers. We're supposed to be running around. We're not supposed to be eating very much. We're supposed to have no fat. But modern living, high rates of obesity, most people are a little bit overweight, carrying extra weight. If you're not exercising every day and you thin, then you don't need to worry. But most of us, let's face it, most of us are overweight. You've got to go to your GP once a year, every single year, test your blood glucose levels, your cholesterol, and what's the other one? Blood glucose, cholesterol, blood pressure. Because all these things are what we call, in the medical world, insidious. So you don't know that you don't feel it. You don't feel that you got high blood pressure or high blood glucose levels. You don't feel that you got high cholesterol because it slowly deteriorates your body. Arteriosclerosis, hardening of blood vessels, leading to high blood pressure. It's a whole, you can have a heart attack, a stroke. So you need to sort yourself out, because suddenly when you're 60, 70, 80, you can suddenly just drop dead of a heart attack. And as one of my former GPs told me, I had to dump her because I didn't dump her. She was a good GP. She was thorough. She had a good bedside manner, good bosom, capable doctor. I had to dump her because she wasn't on I changed to Discovery Smart and she wasn't on the list. So I had to go to another doctor. And he's okay. Anyway, she said to me something very clever. Damon, if you don't go on these medications and you don't look after yourself, you'll drop dead. Boom. So, not a problem. You're dead. You don't know. You haven't. No one's the wiser. It doesn't matter. But what happens if you don't die and you just get a stroke? And then she pulled the face like she did like a Bell's palsy face. I suppose she's learned how to do it over there. But do you want to have a bad quality of life? So you won't die, but then suddenly you can't walk, and you can get mini strokes, which are called transient ischemic attacks, TIAs, mini strokes. That causes dementia. It'll mimic Parkinson's disease. So you have Parkinsonian symptoms. So you don't have Parkinson's, but you've got symptoms that are like Parkinson's. So you may as well, it's like people, you don't have, anyway, you get the idea. And you can have multiple TIAs over the years, and eventually, that's what happened to my father, Abba Shalom. He landed up sitting in a chair. He wasn't reading anymore. The last 2 years, it's tragic. So, Gerald, just listen to me. Just go to your GP. You've earned the visit to your GP. That's what Harry used to say. Harry, what a star. I was a traffic reporter at 7:02, and the one evening I was about to finish my shift, and Harry arrived because he used to do Medically Speaking with the Professor Harry Siftel between 7 and 9. Because he used to come on to, and he walked past my traffic desk and he looked at me, and I think he enjoyed my traffic reports because Harry wasn't a big communicator. He didn't have like this charm and this conversation. He wasn't not really a hugely conversational chap. he would arrive at 7:02 and he'd go straight to the studio. But this particular night, he came past the traffic desk, says, "Damon, you are the rabbi of traffic." He actually said that to me. Isn't that sweet? And I can't remember whether he did this, whether he told me this at the same time. "See this gold watch? Oh, Wits University gave me this gold watch after 50 years at Wits University. 50 years they gave me this gold watch, Damon." How's about that? And then Harry retired from Wits. I don't know at what stage of his life, but then he got a good job at Fed Health. He was like a medical advisor to a medical aid scheme. Because at the time it was Fed Health. Anyway, I don't know. I think Harry's still alive, but I don't know his health situation. But he looked after. He was a thin chap. He looked after himself. So yeah, even anyway. What can I say? On to more pleasant topics. Not that was unpleasant. Good news, in case you don't know, the vaccinations are open to 18 to 35-year-olds. So please go get your vaccination. I might be wasting my breath because, according to research, 95% of people who listen to this are between the ages of kind of like 50 and 103. That's like the average, according to the research, that's what's lovely about podcasts and digital internet. You can get accurate figures. 103, I know that sounds crazy, but turns out I got a couple of listeners in Japan that have bumped the average up. But you know what? It's just, they work on an algorithm equation type thing. So it's not written in stone. So I'm thinking, most people listening, maybe 50 to 85, 87. I think that 103 is ridiculous, whoever came up with that. Speaking of youngsters, I'm concerned. I brought this up yesterday, and it was a big story the last couple of days. And unfortunately, this is not a news story, but the media, I think when there's a slow news day, but there's never a slow news day. We inundated with news, but having said that, so the big news 2 or 3 days ago, or earlier this week, was the terrible, huge incidences of teenage pregnancies. But I'm talking like ridiculous, like 29,000 something, and that's just in Gauteng. Teenage pregnancies. So this is girls between the ages of like 10 and 16 or 10 and 18 that are pregnant. Horrific. What can I say about this? But here is the key word. Masturbation. Please masturbate. Now, this is where I'm going. Wait, I'm about to burp. Ooh. I had 2 cups of coffee this morning. Not a good idea. I'll talk about it in a moment. Wait, that wasn't a good idea. Please, just remind me not to do that. Okay. Ooh, mustn't do so much coffee. There's this insinuation in the articles that I read about this high incidence of teenage pregnancies that it's a lot of much older men committing rape, sexual assault on young kids, young children. Definitely, I'm sure that is a definite factor. And it's rape. But this is just anecdotal, it's just my gut feel, but I just got a feeling in most cases, it's young girls, it's 10-year-olds, it's insane. I think it's more like teenage boys from the age of 13, 14, up to 18, or maybe even slightly older, that are having sex with these 10-year-olds. And that's rape. And the question that my wife, oddly enough, has mentioned, What happens if a 14-year-old boy or a 15-year-old boy has sex with a 15-year-old girl because they're both underage? Is that's still rape? I think it's still rape. But that boy is also underage. Look, it's still rape. So what I was gonna say, if you're 18 years old, instead of having sex today, have a good wank. Go and masturbate, please. Nothing to be ashamed of. It's natural. That's the whole problem. It's become what's that word? Verboten or it'll come back to me. Just masturbate. Masturbation is not encouraged enough. Sex education. I don't think there's proper sex education in the school. I mean, there isn't general education, so there's no ways they're doing sex education. And then after you've had a good wank, go and get the damn vaccine, please. Okay? And the other major issue is shocking, horrible parenting. I don't know where the parents are. Where are the law enforcement officers, police, social workers, lawyers, prosecutors? Where are they? If your 11-year-old daughter or your 10-year-old daughter or your 12-year-old daughter is pregnant, it wasn't an immaculate conception. She's not Jesus Mary's mother. There is a boy, a man involved who took part in this activity, and he is a rapist. Hello? Arrest him, prosecute. There's 29,000 or 20,000 rapists out there, just in Gauteng, that are going around and having sex with these underage girls. It's rape. Yeah. What is the world coming to? Yeah. What more can I say? Going back to the COVID vaccinations, by the way, I think, and I've read, if you're not a South African citizen, if you're from wherever, not a South African citizen, Zimbabwe, Zaire, you take your passport, and I think if you go with your passport, you will get vaccinated, because you're not just getting vaccinated for you. It's for everybody. When you get vaccinated, it's to protect everybody around you. Okay? Okay? And there we go. Yeah. So what came of yesterday? I mentioned Nosiviwe Mapisa Nkakula. Okay, she got voted in. I mean, hey, she won 2/3 of the vote in Parliament. She's the new Speaker of Parliament. The other alternative, excuse me, was someone from the DA that no one remembers. And like I said yesterday, I mean, on the surface, it kind of doesn't make sense. You're thinking, this Nosiviwe Mapisa Nkakula there's allegations against her of terrible corruption. 5,000 rand is allegedly she took 5,000 rand in bribes. She spent 7,000 rand on chartered. Anyway, there's a whole lot of. And then you got to understand, man. You see, if you're not an ANC person, if you're not knowledgeable about the history of the ANC and the history of the people in the ANC, you don't understand. We're still in the phase of sentiment. Nosiviwe Mapisa Nkakula didn't just step off the train from Quebec or wherever she's from. She's from Cradock. Is she from Cradock? I'll look that up again. I know her husband. I think her husband's from Cradock. Charles Nkakula. Also, So, I mean, Nosiviwe Mapisa Nkakula, in 1984, she left South Africa. She had military training in Angola. She was in the Soviet Union. She worked for several years She worked with the military structures within the ANC. I mean, this is going back to 1984. She's been involved with the ANC for almost 40 years. 1993, she was the Secretary General of the ANC Women's League. So she's got this rich, strong history in the ANC. So when she comes up for voting, I mean, somebody from the ANC said yesterday or the day before, our ANC MPs know what to do. So now, Nosibiwe Mampisangakula is also part of some when someone's in trouble in Parliament, she's part of the disciplinary setup, portfolio committee. But now she is going to be investigated. So how does that work? Okay. I don't know what to say. We just have to, eventually, maybe things will come right. I don't know when are we going to start moving away from old sentiment? In my opinion, you're only as good as what you've done last. So if you did something amazing and wonderful 40 years ago, let's deal with what's going on now. Now look at the Taliban. I'm looking at the Taliban, and the other day I was saying, when you look at these Taliban with their guns, what do you call them? Are they militiamen? Are they Taliban soldiers? Turns out, so you call them Taliban fighters. So I noticed the media call them Taliban fighters. Does that mean that? So all the guys on the ground with their guns, they call Taliban fighters. And then the Taliban guys who sit around a desk, they're just called Talibans. Now I had a look at them. Did you notice? And maybe I alluded to this yesterday. No grey beards. What do you think? They none of them are these altar cuckers. Did the altar cuckers get left in Qatar? Because apparently the Taliban, some of them who weren't in the caves, the top echelons were in Qatar apparently. Are the altar cuckers still in Qatar, or are they? Is that where Talibans go when they retire? The other day I asked, when does a Taliban fighter retire? Or when does a Taliban fighter retire? All I know is when I look at these Talibans now, they all got dark beards. I'm looking at them, average age, 30 to 40. They're so young. There's some Talibans there. I look at them. Those are dark beards. Average age, early 20s, late. The oldest guy there looked maybe 40. Why do I say this? Because I know if you look at men who have beards, one of the first things that goes grey on a man. What's the first thing that goes grey on a man? I think it's the beard. And maybe the hair. Pubics, I think, last. We haven't, look, there hasn't been a detailed study, and I haven't examined the Taliban's pubis. But the beard is the first sign, and you see, I mean, my brother, he's got a huge beard. Grey. But you look at his hair, not so grey. So I think the beard is the first thing that goes grey. And if you look at these Talibans, do yourself a favor, look at all the photos of these Talibans. All their beards are dark. So the Taliban, so this is where I'm going with this. The Taliban are now claiming we want peace, there will be no reprisals, we will not be vindictive, we will not cause any harm, we will not try and take vengeance on anyone who was aiding and working for the Americans. And most people don't believe them because, they've got a track record. The Taliban, can the Taliban be trusted due to their historical background where they're not so good? But then you look at the beards, and maybe this is a new era of Taliban. Maybe these dark beards, this is new Taliban blood. And maybe these guys are going to have a new vision of the Taliban. And maybe this is, but maybe I'm being optimistic. I just saw a story. But again, it's like when I say a story, it's an article about some research done. No eyewitness accounts. It's just a theory by some academic saying that Taliban have been hunting and knocking on people's doors looking for people who worked with the Americans, with the American military, interpreters, engineers, whatever, the gardener, the guy who digged up the garden around the American embassy, the guy who washed the windows of the vehicles, for crying in a bucket. Excuse me. But that's just like an article, it's like an opinion, it's a theory, it's like a research paper. No actual eyewitness account, so who knows? Maybe I'm naive, maybe I'm just an optimist. I'm starting to feel. Who would have thought dark beards would give you hope? And that's the feeling. That's the feeling I got. I could be wrong. What do you think? Well, what do you think? We're getting conflicting reports. The Americans say now there's going to be 20 flights a day, to evacuate people out of Kabul, out of the Kabul airport. There's thousands of American soldiers around the Kabul airport, securing the Kabul airport and allowing people to evacuate. So when the Taliban say we are for peace, well, you're not going to go and attack the Kabul airport, Taliban, because I'm sorry, with all due respects, you've got thousands of American troops there. As soon as everyone's evacuated, once the Americans have got everyone that they want to get out, then what's going to happen to the Kabul airport? Will there be a Kabul airport? Maybe it'll be a Kaboom airport. No airport. Who knows? So time will tell. Let's not make. We can speculate. We can speculate until the cows come home. But put it this way: if your business in Kabul is trimming beards and shaving people, maybe change your business to designing burqas, maybe even importing burqas. Mind you, if that happens, worst case scenario, the Taliban won't allow you to import burqas. You'll have to just source the material, get your burqa designs, do your burqas, create and make your burqas in Afghanistan, in Kabul, or wherever you are in Afghanistan. Anyway, it's Friday. Let's try. Try relax, have a good weekend, and maybe do something productive. Don't treat the weekend as a holiday. Maybe do something, and then maybe take the pressure off work for Monday. That's just a theory. I always say that to myself that I'm going to do it, but then I never do. Go figure.